In this lesson, we will learn about IP routing table. Here is the network diagram that we will use in this lesson. To make it simple, we only focus on the routing table of IT Life Skills Router 1. Here is the routing table on IT Life Skill Router 1. To display the routing table at the privilege mode, we issue the command show IP route. First, let's pay attention to the codes. The codes show us how a route was learned and populated into the routing table. As you can see, each route entry is attached with a code. For example, C means connected routes, or the router has interfaces directly connected to the subnets. S means static routes, or the routes that are manually configured by a network engineer like us. D means EIGRP routes, or the router learns about that route dynamically via EIGRP protocol. And O means OSPF routes, or the router learns about that route dynamically via OSPF protocol. You need to pay special attention to the route entries for overlapped subnets in a routing table, because they are arranged by the descending order of the subnet mask. Therefore, the route with the longer mask always appears first. For example, in this routing table, these two routes are for the overlapped subnets, and this route has the subnet mask of 32, which is longer than 26. That's why this route entries appear first in the routing table. Router performs route lookup sequentially from top to bottom. When it finds a match, it skips all other entries below. It follows the instruction in the route entry to forward the IP packet. If it does not find the match, then it will drop the packet. With this processing behavior and the arrangement of the route entries for overlap subnet, that the longer mask subnet appears first, it means routers always forward packets to the smaller subnet if overlapped. As you know, router uses the administrative distance, or AD, to make sure only the best routes get promoted into the routing table. By default, connected route has AD of 0, static route has AD of 1, OSPF has AD of 110, and EIGRP has AD of 90. The best route is the one that has the lowest administrative distance. Therefore, connected routes are always in the routing table. And if there are more than one learned route for the same subnet, the static route will be promoted into the routing table first, then EIGRP, and after that is the OSPF route. However, we can manipulate the administrative distance of the learned routes to influence which routes get into the routing table. As you know, each line in a routing table is called a route entry. A route entry usually has the following parameters: the code, the destination subnet, the administrative distance, the next hop IP address, the outgoing interface. Since from the next hop IP address, the router can figure out the outgoing interface, or from the outgoing interface, the router can figure out the next hop IP address. Therefore, only one of the two parameters is required. Let's use a network diagram to figure out the instruction in this route entry. First of all, we know that the route is a static route because it has a code of S and it uses the default administrative distance of 1. The entry tells us that from IT Life Skill Router 1 to reach to the destination network 10.3.0.0/24 behind router 3 over here, the router must send its IP packets via the outgoing interface F01 to the next hop IP address 10.0.13.3. By following the instruction, the router IT Life Skill Router 1 must encapsulate its IP packet into an Ethernet frame and uses the app process to find the MAC address of the next hop IP 10.0.13.3 and send it out via the outgoing interface F01. Default route can be understood as the catch-all route. It means if the router does not find any matching route, it will use the default route to forward the IP packet. If the default route is not set, then the router will drop the packet if it does not find any matching route. As you can see, in this case, the default route is not set. Therefore, the router will drop the packet if it does not find a matching route. The default route is now set on IT Life Skill Router 1. As you can see, the default route is a route to the network 0.0.0.0/0, which covers all the subnets. The default route is always at the bottom of the routing table. In this case, the default route is a static route, and the star over here means it is the candidate default. And it instructs the router to send all unmatched IP packets via the outgoing interface F01. As you know, when an Ethernet frame comes to a router, the router will check to see if the frame is good and for itself. If so, it will de-encapsulate the frame to get the IP packet. Then it gets the destination IP address from the IP packet and look up the routing table to find the instruction on how to forward the packet. Let's take a look at this example. In this example, the destination IP address is 10.3.0.25, and here is how the router makes the forwarding decision. It starts at the top of the table. It checks the first entry and figure out the IP range of the subnet in this entry. And in this case, the IP range is 10.0.12.1 to 10.0.12.254. It knows the destination IP does not reside on the subnet. Therefore, it repeats the same action on the next route entries until it finds a mess on this route. It skips all the routes after this entry and immediately follows the instruction to forward the IP packet to the next hop IP address 10.0.13.3 via the outgoing interface Fast Ethernet 01. Let's read the keynotes for this lesson. This is the end of this lesson. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching.